another interview. Today I have Payton of the Thrift Thru. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, where are we right now?
We are at our shop, which we opened about, a month ago. It's been a month. So we have 3 different shops in one. So the Thrift Thru me. And then we have Hyped Goods, which is the main, room here. And then along the wall we have the warehouse. So 3 small businesses in one big building.
3 small businesses, 1 big building. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I mean, I love working, with the Thrift Thru, and it's just me doing this, but to be around creative minds like Hyped Goods and the warehouse, it's really just, it helps you grow as, a brand. So I'm really thankful to be with them.
I'm sure it's motivating too.
Oh, for sure.
Seeing people come in, and I'm sure your network has grown so much, especially being all of y'all mixed into one spot.
Yeah, we all kind of benefit each other because we all have different target audiences.
Exactly.
So once we can kind of, we figured out who we need to target, and now it's all just brought in one spot. So it's really nice.
Yeah, I love it. So I guess I was gonna jump way ahead of myself, but I guess it's time for us to get into the interview. So first question, since I don't want to jump ahead of myself, so when did you start your business and why?
So I started the Thrift Thru in January of 2021, so a little over a year in now. And thrifting has always been something that's been a part of my life. So since I was little, I've been in and out of thrift stores with my mom, with my grandma. My grandma's actually the yard sale queen. Yeah, she has garage sales all the time. When we were little, we were basically taught how to scope out yard sale signs.
Oh, you have an eye.
Yeah.
You're kind of bred for this.
Yeah, I really believe so, and that's why I know thrifting, it comes with patience and the eye. People are like, oh, you have the eye for this. And I never really understood what that meant until I realized, wow, I really do. I grew up doing this. And, when you grow up in thrift stores, you just kind of have to learn your own personal style. And it's not even so much about the clothes and the quality or how old they are. It's really just, all of those things obviously matter. But also it's well, how many times can I wear this? And how many times can I change the outfit? Just trying to find a versatile piece and using the uniqueness of your own self to create these outfits. It's really something that you have to learn. So I'm really grateful that I got to, get pushed in that world when I was little and then grow up in it. And now here we are.
So why did you turn it into a business instead of just keeping it as a passion, a hobby?
Yeah, well, I graduated from Texas State in 2018 with a public relations degree. And so after I graduated, I moved to New York.
Okay.
And yeah, I lived there for about a year, and then the pandemic happened and, mess. But I really wanted to go into the PR world and kind of venture into corporate America and kind of see where my degree could take me. But then I just realized, even when I was in New York, I was thrifting and trying to find cool stuff. And I always pick up things, even that if I know, they don't fit me or I won't wear them, I still want to buy it. I'm this is such a cool piece. I'm never going to come across it again. I need it, And so once I started getting a collection going, I was I should just take a chance on myself. I would see other people who I admired, even Hyped Goods and Adrian, when he was working with them, before it was the warehouse, he was seeing colors. So he had his own brand and was selling. And it was just so inspiring to see these people, really just believe in themselves. And so I kind of sat back and was well, maybe I should just believe in myself and see where it goes, because I always, again, I knew that I had this gift, but I was just kind of scared to use it. Who will appreciate it? Who will want to see it? And, thankfully a lot of people wanted to see it.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I really do. So, we already talked about how you got into thrifting. But, so just kind of overcoming that fear of taking a chance on yourself, how did you do that? What were some motivations that you had besides, you know, the people around you?
I think it was mostly just kind of finding the confidence in my own style and just understanding not everybody is going to understand how I want to express myself, and that's okay. And how and how and how they express themselves is going to be different than I do, and that's okay too. So just kind of understanding that just because one person doesn't really understand what I'm doing doesn't mean that there aren't other people out there who really will support and be, you know, a fan of what I'm doing. So I guess I really just had to sit there and overcome my own negative self-talk of like, nobody wants to see that or nobody cares. And it was like, well,
Somebody does.
yeah, let me just see, you know, let me see if there is. And then, you know, a year and a half into it, I have my own storefront, which is, you know, not even something that I imagined. Like I had, so Hyped Goods used to be down the road actually, and they were just like a small little room, and I had a rack up there. And it was all right, like I did good, but the audience, like the target audience for Hyped Goods is just so drastically different than the Thrift Thru.
Yeah.
It's very like masculine dominated and, you know, very intimidating also. And so I was friends with Chris and Eric, and so when they asked, you know, do you want to put a rack up, I was kind of like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm there yet. Like, I don't know if I'm good enough for my stuff to be seen by the vintage world. And they kind of were just like, we had to start somewhere. Like, we started somewhere, and look at us now. Like, what's stopping you? And so I kind of just had to stop being mean to myself and say, you know, I'm gonna try and see what happens. And they, you know, like again, it's like in my blood of, you know, thrifters. Yeah, so it's nice. Like I remember being little and picking stuff up like on the side of the road and like furniture or anything that we could find. Like
you tiny, I just imagine you trying to
no,
carry
yeah, no, seriously. Like we are all 5-foot women, and all of us like we get crackhead strength. Like
Oh, wow.
just throw stuff. So it's just like, you know, I don't know. I really feel like the women that came before me really just allowed me to immerse in this kind of culture because it really is a culture. And so thankfully it came naturally to me. But yeah, thrifting and having budgets and all sorts of stuff. Like we had a thrift store in our hometown, and my grandma called it the little mall. And so when we were little, she'd say, okay, like let's go to the little mall. You have a little basket, and she would give us a budget of like $2 or $5. And so there I was, like I'm going to make the most out of this budget. So I would find toys and, you know, clothes and all sorts of stuff, and then she would say, okay, now only pick like 4 of the 8 things that you have. So I'd have to sit there and be like, okay, what do I want? How many times can I wear this? How many times can I play with this?
What's the best option?
Yeah. And so now, you know, again, when I'm thrifting, it's kind of easier to pick my stuff. Yeah.
So I know in every experience I've had in thrift stores, it's a very versatile group of people that come in there, especially with like the new age wave of like interest in thrifting.
Yeah.
So what would you say like your target audience is, and how do you find it? Like, do you ever find it difficult to shop because you have such a versatile audience? Like almost like there's too many options?
Yeah, I would say that it gets a little bit difficult, but I feel like my audience is so broad that anything that I kind of feel would do good in the store typically does do good. So I guess I've just gotten really lucky with my clientele and who my target audience is and how broad it actually is. Because not only do I cater to like, you know, the female audience with thrifting and the vintage stuff, but also like the male audience. Like we have hats and we have t-shirts and you know, kids clothing. So it kind of just brings in everyone, and that's what I really wanted as well. Like growing up in thrift stores, you have to really be resourceful, and I want people to come into my shop and not feel like this is something that's not attainable to them. So when they come in, I want them to think, oh wow, somebody curated these things for me, but it's still in their budget. Like it's still something that you know, if they were to see it in the thrift store and they would want to buy it, they still feel the urge to do that here. So really just catering to that and just making sure that, you know, we stay oh my gosh, stay
It's the time to
sustainable
Yeah.
and affordable, because I really don't want anybody to feel like, you know, this isn't accessible to them, because I want it to.
Right. So what do you want, so aside from just feeling accessible, what do you want people to take away when they leave your shop?
I think I just want people to kind of get an understanding of who the Thrift Thru is. So even if it's just them kind of walking in and thinking like, oh, I really like the vibe here.
Right.
Even that is just something that, you know, I you know, find to be so, I don't know, rewarding. And I just want people to see the clothes and see them for what they are. Like when I see the clothes, I just think that there's so much history in each one of them, and I always wonder, like, I wonder where this piece was and where it went. And, you know, I feel like a lot of my clients feel that same way. Like they really just respect the clothing.
Right.
And also just to see the clothing come to life. Like this would be nothing without the customers purchasing the clothes.
For sure.
You know, not even for the money. It's really just for,
Seeing what they do. with
yeah,
it.
like my favorite thing so far is having a fitting room, because people will be like, oh my God, come look at this. And that is, like, I almost cry every time, because it's just so, I can't even explain it. Like, the clothing really does come to life, and nobody can do that but the person that the clothing calls to.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I have the eye for it, like I'll pick it, but I don't have anything to do with the clothes. Like the clothes are gonna find the people that it belongs to,
Right.
and if it calls to you, then you know it's meant for you. Yeah, yeah.
So how would you describe the Thrift Thru in 3 words? Just three.
I would say we are timeless. Obviously,
Great.
yeah.
Great one.
I would also say retro chic, if you consider that one word.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
And affordable, I would say. I really try and keep my clothes on like the lower end of the market price. Again, just because I understand what it feels like to like see a piece that you really want, but then you're like, oh, I don't know if I could get
Yeah.
this. And so I try my best to make sure that nobody really has to experience that. So.
That's awesome though. I feel like shopping nowadays is so hard, especially like shopping small businesses. Because I know, of course, don't tell small businesses how to price.
Mhm.
Like, of course, totally understand. But I've definitely had that experience of like, you know, I want this, but it's just like way out of my
Yeah.
budget. It sucks, especially with small businesses, because you want to support
Yeah.
so bad.
Exactly.
So I definitely like these little aspects.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you.
I So what is, aside from when people, like you were saying, when people try on the clothes and it comes to life, like that's super rewarding. But like, what is the all-time most rewarding thing that Thrift Thru has given you?
I honestly think that it's just seeing the customers come in. So before I was a storefront, I just sold online, so all on Instagram. And the customers, you know, I would have a relationship with them, like you kind of DM back and forth or whatever. But to actually see them face to face and in person and kind of, yeah, that's just something that's so surreal to me. Like, I understand that Thrift Thru has like followers and, you know, there's people that have been with me from the beginning, but it's still hard for me to believe that there are people who actually love the Thrift Thru as much as I do.
Right.
And so I think that that's the most rewarding thing, to know like something that I love so much is actually loved by other people as well. So yeah, I'm really thankful for like everybody that comes. And I always used to read like, you know, small business owners always know when there's repeat customers and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And for sure I do. Actually, I hired my first employee. Her name is Jordan.
Oh.
Yes. And she was one of my very first customers at the Thrift Thru. And she lived in a different city. And then when we opened up, she just happened to move to San Antonio. And not only was she one of my first customers, she's like one of my most frequent. And
Right.
so I immediately was like, please come work for me, you know, because not only was it just like fate that she happened to move here when I needed somebody, but also I knew that she loved the Thrift Thru, and I really wanted, if I were to ever bring anyone on the team, to know like, well, they actually like my stuff, and when she works, she wears like a piece of the Thrift Thru every time because she has so much. Like she genuinely is a fan, and so am I. So it's really cool to have that around.
So you were saying how you sold on Instagram first. Do you think that, like, how do you think that helped your transition into the store?
It helped a lot, like to gain confidence and like especially just the pictures, like posting the pictures and finding, you know, the aesthetic and what people like and what they don't like. So when I was primarily online, that was something that really helped me, like figuring that out. What posts were getting likes, what posts weren't, what was selling fast, and what technique was I using when they go fast. Like, should I do more reels? Should I do this? Should I do that? And then once I figured that out, luckily, it was already time to open up the shop. So without having that Instagram presence first, I know that I wouldn't be as prepared as I am today. Not only with just like how many people know the name that they're through, but also just how to navigate it, how to, you know, figure out what clothes will look good on somebody or how to model somebody. So yeah, I'm really grateful for starting out on Instagram at first, just because I feel, I mean, this was scary for me to open up the store, but I feel like if I just, you know, ran in and was like, let me open up the store, I would be really, really scared. So I always give huge props to people that do that, because it's like you have, you know, all of the confidence and the faith in the world where you should, you know, you should. So yeah, I'm really grateful for Instagram for helping me out with learning all that.
Right. Do you sell online at all right now?
Yeah, so I would say that still, since we've opened, about 40% of my sales are still online. And that was really important for me as well when we opened up the shop, because, again, I only had customers online, and a lot of them were repeat customers that don't live in the area. And so when I opened up the shop, I didn't want it to be where, like, the shop was the main, you know, source of putting out inventory, and then Instagram was kind of just there. I really didn't want to do that to them, because they were the ones that helped me get here to where I am. So yeah, I've been posting just as much as I do. Like my inventory, it's all posted online. They are always welcome to like DM me if they see anything in the store in any of my posts. Just because, again, I don't want, it's such a luxury to have like a storefront. But I don't want the customers that don't have the luxury to come here to feel like they don't have the opportunity to buy something. So, yeah, I really try and stay on top of like Instagram sales too, because I love those customers just as much as the ones that are able to come in.
Right, most definitely. So, your new employee, have you hired her unofficially yet?
Yeah, she's been working. Tomorrow will be her third week, I think. So yeah, she's in here, and you know, we so it's just me. I'm the only girl, and then all guys, and so that was something that I had to be like, it'll be fine, like you'll be great.
Yeah.
And thankfully she fits right in with it, and everything's great. So yeah, that was a little scary for me, because again, this is like my baby, and to let somebody like watch your baby, but she's amazing, and again, she really knows, since she's followed me from the beginning, she really knows the vision and who the Thrift Thru is, and so I love her to death, and more than happy that she's loved to me. Yeah.
Dang, I just feel like hiring somebody would be so stressful, but considering your guys' history, it makes total sense.
Yeah, it's worked out so smoothly. I was honestly so scared, like, what do I do? I don't know how to be a boss. Like, what am I
managing people?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm like, I am a child. So how am I supposed to?
Like, I'm a child.
Yeah.
What am I
But yeah, and again, having like hyped goods around, like they've had employees for a couple of years now, so they really help navigate the whole thing. So yeah, it's just you know, there's like a gnat flying around. Okay. There's just a really good team here with all of us here, so it's like not leaving you alone.
No, it's not. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was bombing here.
I saw. You're handling it so much better than I Yeah. I don't remember the question. Okay, all right. So, for people looking to get into like reselling vintage, what advice do you have for them?
I would have to go back with just like owning your confidence. And if you see something that's interesting and you really like it and you want to sell it, do it. You know, do your research, obviously. Like I had to do a lot of research and figure out like what's worth what, and you know, how to figure out what's even vintage and what single stitches and what all of these, you know, terminology that all these vintage people use. And yeah, it's a learning process, but there's absolutely no reason for anybody out there who wants to do this not to be able to do it. You know, it's very intimidating coming into the vintage world, I would say, but also it's very supportive. Like I've never had a bad experience, or ever been told like my stuff isn't good enough or I'm not good enough. And so if nobody's there to tell me that, then why wouldn't I try?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's the advice that I would give to anybody that wants to do it. Like if you're curious, jump in, see if you like it, you know, ask all of the questions.
Right.
You know, there's not anyone out there that will just turn you away. And if they do, then there's someone else that will answer your questions for you. You know, so
always another door.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would just say go for it because, you know, everyone has their own unique style. Like there's 3 vintage shops in here right now, and we all have drastically different things. Even if we do have some similar stuff, you can tell the difference. Like you can tell the style is different. The, you know, the atmosphere, the aesthetic. So what I have, what they have is going to be totally different than whatever somebody who wants to start out will have. So, you know, they like, you always hear the saying like there's, you know, 20 different or 20 plus different butters, but there's still going to be another butter.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you open up another store? Even if there's 20 plus stores,
Right.
you can still open up
Still
one.
not yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, yeah, I feel like anybody's personality will definitely pop out, and it's worth seeing. It's worth, you know, I would love to see other vintage shops. I love seeing vintage shops. Like, the Zapata House, obsessed with them. Like, I just love the reworking and the individuality of it all. Like, I don't think that there will ever be enough vintage shops or enough reworking shops. Like, I feel like the world is big enough and there's so much success
There's
out
so
there.
many ways to do it.
Yeah. So do it. You know, don't stop yourself. Just do it and see what
Right.
happens.
I mean, you never know if you're gonna fail.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for the future, because yeah, you guys are in your premature stages.
Yeah.
Even a month.
Oh, we're babies.
What can we expect for the future of you, your store, you and your employee? You know, any events, any big sales, any big.
Yeah, we have a few things coming up. Dates are kind of still up in the air, but we do have a $5 sale coming up pretty soon. Yeah, and then back to school sales are coming up. We also participate in tax-free weekend. So there's a lot of really cool things coming on. We also are starting to put together or starting to think about putting together a market with a bunch of different vendors so they can kind of just we really want to be community-based as well, and so just to get the community in here and know, again, like, if you're small, I started out in pop-ups. Hyped Goods started out in pop-ups. Like, you all have to start somewhere, and we want to support you. You know, we want you to come in here and feel, you know, like, when I used to do pop-ups and people would come to my booth, it was like, oh my God, you know? Exactly, and I want to be able to share that experience with people, and luckily we have, you know, an amazing building to offer that, so yeah, we definitely want to get people in here and just know, like, we support you and we hope that you do great.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on this episode of Let's Get Social, and I will have everything linked so you can support and follow and shop. Thrift Thru. Yeah, please shop. And I will have the location and everything. And yeah, so keep an eye out for Payton and all the rest of the things she's gonna do. Bye!